Hi, this is Rachel from the blog thislovelylittle.farmhouse.com, and today I'm going to share with you the 8 things that I think every expectant mother should do. And I do want to stop and say, I know I say this in all of my videos, but it's so true. I really appreciate everyone who takes the time to watch my videos and like and comment and subscribe. It means so much to me. It's something quick, easy, and free that you can do that really helps and supports a creator, whether it be on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or anything else like that. They're all controlled by algorithms, and so all of those things are so helpful, and they're quick and easy and free. So I really do appreciate it when you take the time to do that. Anyway, let's jump in. So these are the 8 things that I think every expectant mom should do, especially though if you're planning a natural birth. They are still relevant, like if you're going to have an epidural, and even some of them if you have a planned C-section, they are still relevant because it's just relevant for birth in general. So number 1 is to reach out for help. My first birth experience was much more traumatic than a lot of people's birth experiences are, and my recovery was very painful, very long and difficult, and there was no way that I could handle this stuff by myself. And even with my husband, it was still so difficult. We were both exhausted. We were both having trouble coping with the traumatic situation of our daughter's birth. You can go watch that video if you're interested. I'll put the links down in the description to the birth story. But my mom, after the birth, she basically moved in with us for 2 weeks. She helped me so much. I really don't know that we would have gotten through that time without her. She, would wake up with me in the middle of the night to feed the baby. She was cooking food for us. She helped us so much. I don't know what we would have done without her. And then later, I kind of moved back in with them for a little while because we were dealing with tongue tie. We had gotten that revised. So we were having to go back and forth an hour multiple times a week for therapies, and I had really bad postpartum depression. It was just all so overwhelming. If you haven't experienced postpartum depression, it makes everything so much more difficult. I was literally just at the end of my rope and didn't know that I could even keep going. So my mom, she saved us. I don't even know what I would have done without her. So don't be afraid to ask for help, because the people who care about you are more than happy to help you. It doesn't mean you're a bad parent. It doesn't mean you're a bad mom. It doesn't mean you failed. It's human. As humans, we are created to need help, so don't be afraid to ask for it. The second thing I would recommend, especially if you're planning to have a natural birth, is to have a doula / labor coach, because especially as a first-time mom, you don't really know what to expect, and when you're in those middle of the labor, the contractions and the labor pains, you're not necessarily thinking of all the options, the things you can try, and that's what a doula is there for, because they've been to so many births. They know things that can help manage the contractions, and they can do counter pressure in certain places that help ease the pain and all that kind of stuff. So I highly recommend a doula or labor coach. There's no doubt in my mind that my first child's birth would have turned out very differently if she had not been there. On the ride to the hospital, she was right next to me, going breathing with me, coaching me breathing through the contractions. And if she had not been there, there's no doubt in my mind that I would have been trying my hardest to push that baby out going down the interstate. The third thing is to have the people there that you want there. For me, that was minimum people, my close family. Those are the people that I feel most comfortable with. they're the people that I thought would create the most relaxing, peaceful atmosphere that I was going for. Because if, as a laboring mom, you're stressed out because of, you know, all these people going in and out, or people there that you really don't want there, it's gonna affect your labor. You know, it can stall your labor. It can affect it in so many ways. So it's really important. I know it's a very difficult thing to deal with because people get their feelings hurt, you know, all that stuff makes it very difficult. But I would recommend that you stay strong and invite those people who will support the birth, not hinder it. I really think that was a really important thing to me, and I do think it helped my labor progress better than if I would have had people there that were stressing me out, for sure. Number 4, especially if you're having a natural birth and it's your first child, I would recommend taking a comfort measures class. We took a comfort measures class, me and my husband did together, in addition to a natural birth class, because the birth center we were going to required you to take a birth class. But we took a comfort measures class in addition to that because I was planning to have a natural birth, and I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was super helpful for not only me but my husband as well, because it helped him get an idea of things that he could do to help me, you know, different positions. They did go over some of the counter pressure things you could do. It was just really helpful to get all like those kind of ideas, because I never had a baby before. I didn't know all the different positions and things you could do, you know, during your contractions. Also, like, if labor stalled, different things you could try to get labor going again naturally, and all those kind of things. So that was really helpful. If you have one in your area, I definitely recommend it. The next one is to research everything and be as prepared as possible for the birth, because the reality of it is there are so many things that can happen that will totally change the outcome of your birth experience. And it's so beneficial to know those things ahead of time, to have gone through the scenarios and decide what you would want in each scenario that can arise. You know, if you are stalling in your labor, what things do you want to try first? What things are you not comfortable with doing? If it comes to having a C-section, do you want to have an epidural? You know, who do you want to be in there? You know, do you want to do delayed cord clamping? Do you want to have the baby bathed? Like, there are so many things, and you don't want to be having to make those decisions when you're in the middle of labor. Trust me, it's very difficult to make decisions when you're in the middle of labor. It's not something you want to do. So strongly recommend doing all that research ahead of time. And kind of on the heels of that point, the next one is to have a birth plan. Have all that stuff written out. You can go over it with your doctor or your midwife or whoever your you know, practitioner is, but have it all written out. You can take it with you. Not only is it helpful for discussing those things with your practitioner, but also for your support people, because if they have a question about something, they can just go look at the paper instead of having to ask you and you having to bring all this stuff up while you're in labor. So having a birth plan is super helpful. If you don't have one yet, I have a post all about what you need to research, what you need to think about, all the things that are good to have on your birth plan, in your birth plan, and also a free template. I'll put the link for that post and video in the description box below, so go check it out. There's a lot of information there for a first-time mom especially, so go check that out. The next thing is prepare your body for labor as much as possible. Before I got pregnant, I worked out a lot. I exercised and I worked out, and I feel like having your body in good shape makes labor so much easier. They say that it's like a marathon, and I saw someone recently say you wouldn't go run a marathon without any training, and the same goes for having a baby. You need to get your body ready and be in physical shape for something that's like a marathon. Also, a couple other things that I did that well, one of them I really feel like helped. The other one I didn't get to find out if it did. I used evening primrose oil vaginally, and I really do think that that helped, and that was one reason my labor was so quick. especially for my first baby. If things had turned out differently and she had been head down, I probably would have had her within 7 hours of my water breaking. Like, that's how quick my labor went. And it wasn't nearly as bad as I was expecting. It wasn't that bad. So the evening primrose oil I would recommend, and I'll definitely be doing this time. And I also did the perineum stretches. If you don't know what that is, look it up. I'm not going to explain it here. But in order to try not to tear when I was delivering her, I did not get to see if that worked or not because of having a C-section, but that was another thing that I did in preparing my body for labor. And the last thing is expect the worst. Now, I know that sounds bad. I'm sure, you know, some people will say I'm very pessimistic for that being one of my recommendations, but hear me out. So I went into labor expecting it to be the worst pain I had ever experienced in my life. And it turned out not to be that bad. And I think it was because my expectations were for it to be really, really bad. So I feel like if you have expectations for it to be really bad, and it is really bad, you're not going to be so let down because you expected that. If you expect it to be really, really bad and it's not, it's going to be a pleasant surprise because it's better than you thought it would be. If you expect it to not be that bad and it's way worse than you thought it was going to be, then you're going to be really let down, you're going to be really disappointed, and you're going to have kind of these emotional things because the reality was so far from your expectations. So I do recommend going into it expecting it to be the worst pain you've ever experienced. And if it is, then you won't be let down. If it's not, you'll be really happy. It's really all a mental thing. And I'm not a psychologist. I'm not trained in any of that kind of stuff, but that's my take on the whole mental aspect of labor, is that if you expect it to be the worst pain you've ever experienced in your life, you're set up so much better than if you expect it to be good or not that bad. I'm probably going to be totally messed up this time because it wasn't as bad last time. So mentally I need to be preparing myself again for it to be the worst thing I've ever experienced, because at this point I keep saying it wasn't that bad, you know, so if I go into it thinking that, it'll probably be horrible. So those are the things that I would recommend every single expectant mother do in order to have the most likely chance of a good outcome, especially for a natural labor and birth. Thank you for joining today. I really hope that that gave you some good ideas of things that you'll want to implement into your own natural labor and birth, or any kind of labor and birth that you're going to have, that you're planning for. And I will see you in the next video. Bye. So number 4, I do that every time. I can count, I promise.